It's been a very big season after a bit of a lull of recent years for various reasons, injury and then moving clubs. For me, it was really building upon last year, and Rado asks a very different game to what I'm used to, and being able to bring that in. My ball control has been a lot better. I've learned a lot of patience this year as well. For me, I'm really happy with how it's gone. Just having that confidence to really take on opposition, to be a bit more of a senior voice because of the run that we had at the start of the year. For me, I'm really enjoying where I'm at this time.
2 goals and 3 assists. Are the stats lying a bit there? Do you think been a little bit more influential than that?
Look, there's been plenty of opportunities. As people have seen, we've had a bit of unluckiness in front of goals. But for me, having those 3 assists is really important as a winger. For a long time there was always this emphasis as a winger, really you should just be scoring lots of goals. It didn't really matter whether you assisted or not. Coming to City, they said, your influence, being able to provide assists is just as important to scoring goals. And you look at some of the biggest players in the world like Iniesta and all of them, that part of their game is just as important as scoring. So for me, as long as I'm providing opportunities to those in front of me, whether it's Tamika or Jasmine Spencer or whoever's playing in those positions, I'm putting my impact on there and making things known.
Mentally, is it hard to sort of not get too ahead of yourself, but you see yourself doing well, or?
It is. For me, I'm very much a confidence player, and I take confidence. If I start a game well and I get a couple of runs in, it's like, okay, this is good. It's going to be a good game. For me, I don't try and get too far ahead of myself because I'm very much a calmer person, and I don't want to, like you said, you don't want to get too excited just in case, something doesn't work out, and that happens. Sometimes you have quiet games, and that's just me being realistic about myself and being a player. We're only human like everyone else.
I suppose overall, how have you found Melbourne, like just the city? And it's a typical question to ask because
that's okay.
They love it here.
I love Melbourne, absolutely love it. It's home away from home in a way. It's easy living here. The lifestyle and the professionalism just makes me being away from home 5-6 months of the year that much easier, being away from all my loved ones.
I spoke about difficulties, I suppose, with your partner and how you want to be sort of there for him and vice versa. Do you still, I suppose, think about opportunities abroad, potentially playing during the W League off season, or?
I do, and we do talk about it. For me, I love that time with him, and I don't want to miss out on any time with him as well and my family. I am considering, possibilities of playing abroad, but it's something that we really need to talk about together and just really decide what's the best thing for myself as well, because he doesn't want me to miss out on anything. He's very supportive in that, and he pushed me to come to Melbourne when the phone call came last year because I contemplated not taking it, but he said, you can't knock back the biggest club. He's like, that's just like knocking back an EPL team to play for. He said, you need to take these opportunities, and I'm very grateful for.
And there is a World Cup coming up.
There is.
Do you see yourself potentially playing in France? So it's not unusual to see players that have only had 1 or 2 caps or 0 caps that are in the squad. So.
Look, whatever happens. They're in obviously a bit of state of transition at the moment, and they need to sort out what's best for them. For me, if a call-up happened, whether it's just part of the squad or just in training camps, for me that's icing on the cake after a good season. For me, first and foremost, it goes W League, and what comes after is just reaping the rewards of a good season.
Did you always have that goal when you think back to a teenager? Or did you always think about it? Not really.
I did. I did have that goal. When I was little, my goal was I was going to be the first female to play for the men's Liverpool team. My dad was like, nice one, Rhali, good try. And I was always adamant, but I was always a bit of a big dreamer in that regard. I made junior Matildas when it first started. That was a whirlwind. The enormity of that I didn't comprehend at the time. And even now I look back and I probably didn't take full advantage of the situation, but my parents played it down in a way to keep me level-headed, and I'm very grateful for them for that. And then I suppose it was a dream for a long time, and then when things just weren't going to plan and I was focusing very much on my education, I just kind of pushed it to the side and thought, well, I'm still playing in the W League. That's amazing in itself. So when the call-up started coming, it was a bit like Christmas, really. A very, very young, excited girl at Christmas time.
What do you remember about, how did you get into soccer in general? Like,
I was very young. My parents are very sporty. My dad had done cricket and soccer, and he was always playing. My mum would be at games and take me along with them, and I was forever trying to get onto the field and just being a bit of a menace, and I was always in the backyard. And my dad then decided, okay, well, if I'm playing, you're going to play. So that's where it all started. Mum and Dad put me in when I was 4 or 5, and it just went from there. But they always refused to let me really go away to any like camps or representative work until I was at a decent age. They understood that a child needs to be well-rounded in all forms of sport, because they're showing now through all the research, you stay in one sport for so long, you end up with a lot of reoccurring injuries. So that's how it all came about.
do you feel like it's a big thing? I suppose, I don't know if it's particularly women's sport, like, I think maybe young girls get thrown into the deep end a little bit too quickly, or...
I found that being delayed going until I was about 13 into a lot of the representative sides was a very smart move, because you're more mature and because you're looking on and seeing how other people deal with the situations. You think about how you would. So when you are in that situation and you are under that pressure, you react to it a little bit differently. Particularly as females, the male and female game are very different as they are very similar. So for me, I was very grateful that my parents pushed my education and really just said, look, take your time, and they didn't put pressure on me to be the absolute best. They just wanted me to be happy with my game. For me, I remember what it was like when I was young, when I first came on the scene at 15, 16, and it was very different back then, I think, to what it was now. There is that culture, and it's still instilled in a way of, the young ones, they're the ones that pick up the ball bags, they get the drink bottles. But for me, it was very much, you got knocked down a fair bit verbally when you were younger, for no reason. It might be just your first mistake. And what I really try to reinforce with the girls is that, okay, if you continually do the same thing and we've tried to help you, you might get a little bit of a kick up the backside in a way, but try and provide them with a positive experience and a positive environment, because they're going to be nurtured in a way, and you want them to be the best that they can be, because you never know when they need to step out on that park for us.
When you think back to when you started, is that sort of just old school mentality, you think? Yeah.
It is old school, and I don't disagree with it at all. It's still very much in the men's game, and I played men in the men's system for a very long time. So for me, it's okay to still instill those values. It's just getting that balance and making sure that it's not overdone.
Yeah. How was the pressure overall? Like, you were the club to beat. I think you said early in the season, targets on your back and whatnot. But well, how is that pressure that there's a perception that City's the best and all? For
me, I like that pressure. Yeah. It's, you want to be the best, you want people to be after you, and you want people to be stepping up and providing their best game every single week, so that you have to be on your best game every single week. Because not only do you benefit from that as a player and as a team, it's also the competition. And I think that's really shown this year that all the clubs really stepped up to the table with their recruitment, their facilities, their training. And you look at how close this table is, and that just comes from the fact that everyone's being the best that they can be.
How big has the preparation been for your Matildas in the team? I mean, you've been in the system for a long time. Was there extra caution taken with those senior Matildas because you had players that were out, obviously Kaya, unfortunately.
Yeah. Look, their situation, like Kaya's situation, was just pure unlucky. Like, she was managed very well. She was coming back. Then she played, I think it was like 3 games with us, and then she unfortunately did a syndesmosis basically in that Newcastle game. They've been well managed. We look after them. We're providing them with the best support that they can, because they've got a lot going on as well. So we listen to what they're trying to say, particularly us as players. We know that they've got a lot going on, so we always ask them, how are you going? Is everything okay? Is there anything we can do?
I know, because you're quite senior, do you still learn off those players?
You do. They've got different experience and different like you said, World Cups, Asia Cups, different competitions. So you're learning something new all the time, and not necessarily as Matildas. Sometimes it's the other girls from different systems as well. They've all got something to offer, just as we have something to offer, because they don't stay in Australia and play locally sometimes. So we all bring something to the table. We're always learning something new.